Was it really a historic mistake to sign Lewis Hamilton for Ferrari? Or did he simply arrive too late at the team's worst moment? Maurizio Arrivabene, a name that resonates strongly in the recent history of Ferrari, reappeared on the media stage to launch one of the crudest statements remembered in years. His words were not improvised, nor thrown into the air as an outburst of opinion. They were carefully measured, pronounced after the last race of the year in Abu Dhabi, with the weight of an entire season of frustration, disappointment, and what many have classified as Ferrari's biggest strategic failure in the last decade, the signing of Lewis Hamilton. Arrivabene, who knows the inside of Maranello like few others, did not need to raise his voice for his message to reverberate like a bomb in the paddock. Lewis is not finished. He is still competitive. But you should only hire someone like Hamilton if you can give him a competitive car. He needs the right team. If you don't have it, don't hire him. It's not a criticism, it's common sense. That phrase, as simple as it was devastating, was a direct dagger to the current Ferrari leadership. But also, indirectly, to the narrative that for an entire year tried to protect Hamilton from public judgment. What Arrivabene did was nip the illusion in the bud. Signing a 7-time world champion does not guarantee anything if the environment is not ready to accompany him. But the message hid an even more disturbing subtext. It was not just about talking about Hamilton as a driver, but about portraying Ferrari as a team that, in its current state, is incapable of welcoming and exploiting the talent of legends. And not just anyone said this. Arrivabene was the same one who tried to redirect the Scuderia during the years when Sebastian Vettel was its strongest bet. What he revealed next left everyone frozen. Vettel was sending detailed technical reports to the team. Proposals, ideas, diagnostics. But in Mauricio's own words, those documents were considered useless within Ferrari. What is interesting, or rather alarming, is how that pattern repeats itself with Hamilton. An obsessive, meticulous driver with an almost unhealthy work ethic who probably tried to apply that same formula in Maranello. But just as it happened to Sebastian, that will to build from within was rejected. Because at Ferrari, according to Arrivabene, when a driver starts behaving like an engineer, the system collapses. The pilot is there to pilot. Spot. Everything else is perceived as an intrusion, not a contribution. And this is where the script of this story becomes deeply tragic. Two of the best drivers of their generation, both with multiple titles, both with the technical ability to understand the car at levels that go beyond its steering wheel, and both ignored, both frustrated, both defeated not by their mistakes, but by the same invisible wall that seems to surround Ferrari for decades. A hermetic, vertical culture that repels external ideas even if they come from the brightest talent on the grid. Arrivabene's message, far from being a destructive criticism, functions as a warning. Not only for the fans, not only for the analysts, but also for any other driver who considers wearing red in the future. Because what he has made clear is that, at Ferrari, the problem is not the talent that arrives. This is what happens to that talent when it collides with the internal machinery of an institution that remains trapped in an era where hierarchy mattered more than adaptability. Mattia Binotto is not just any character on the political board of Formula One. He was the figure who, for years, embodied both Ferrari's hopes and frustrations. His promotion from engineer to team leader gave him deep technical knowledge of the Scuderia's inner workings, but also made him a privileged witness to the institutional labyrinth that characterizes the Italian team. That's why when he talks about Lewis Hamilton, he does so with the clarity and detachment of someone who knows the structure from the inside and no longer needs to defend it. The first thing he made clear was a premise as simple as it was devastating. Hamilton was late. For Binotto, the signing of Lewis was a media bet with little technical support. And not because Hamilton's talent was in doubt has never been on the table, but because Ferrari, in its current configuration, is not in a position to take advantage of a profile like his. From his point of view, the real mistake was not hiring Hamilton, but doing it when it was too late so that the driver could be part of a profound transformation. Binotto was categorical. Ferrari signed him when he was already near the end of his career. Ideally, they should have brought him in a few years earlier. That statement alone opens up an alternate timeline. A sort of what if, where Hamilton joins Ferrari in 2020 or 2021, when he was still in top form, winning races and titles. But the reality was different. Hamilton arrived in 2025 in an internally broken team with a poor car, and after 2 years of internal political struggle, layoffs of key technical personnel and constant changes in approach. It was not the time to build. It was time to contain the damage. And that, even for a 7-time world champion, was an almost impossible mission. Binotto not only made a temporary diagnosis, he also delved into the structural. Despite no longer being part of Ferrari, today he works at Sauber in the project that will become Audi. He continues to have contact with engineers and technicians from Maranello. And he made it clear, "I know each member of that team very well, and I know that they are talented, strong and capable. They will be able to improve the car and do well in the future." In other words, the problem is not in the names, nor even in the resources. It's in the moment, at the point in the cycle where the team is. That makes the outcome even more painful. Because Hamilton, in essence, did not sign for the Ferrari of the future. He signed for the Ferrari of the present. One that is still stagnant, looking for a clear technical identity, stable leadership, and above all, a car that performs consistently on full weekends. For Binotto, that environment is the complete opposite of what Hamilton needs. The British is a driver who demands perfection, precision, a machine in which everything is calibrated to the millimeter. And Ferrari today is far from offering that. The most disturbing thing is that even from the outside, Binotto sees no signs of immediate improvement. Yes, trust people. But he recognizes that the recovery process will be long. And by the time Ferrari is finally in a position to fight for championships again, Hamilton may well no longer be in Formula One. That's how clear his vision is. Ferrari didn't ruin just one season. It could have ruined the farewell of one of the greatest drivers of all time. Lewis Hamilton's 2025 season with Ferrari was not only disappointing from an emotional or media perspective, it was statistically devastating. The numbers, cold and implacable, describe with brutal clarity what the sensations already anticipated from the first races of the year. It was the worst sporting year of his entire career in Formula One. And not by a small margin, but by an abysmal difference compared to any other stage of his career, even those considered complicated at McLaren or in the last years of Mercedes. Hamilton's own words confirmed the seriousness of the situation. Far from hiding behind technical excuses or diplomatic speeches, he was brutally honest. "I feel terrible. Terrible. It's been the worst season ever. No matter how hard I try, it keeps getting worse. I'm trying everything in and out of the car." That phrase is not just a confession of frustration. It is the reflection of a pilot who feels that he has lost the tools to change his destiny. And therein lies the most tragic aspect of these figures. They are not talking about a pilot who stopped trying, but about one who tried everything and still failed. The numbers not only tell results, they tell a story of psychological exhaustion, failed adaptation, and an environment that never allowed Hamilton to find a minimum of stability. In 2025, Ferrari not only took away Hamilton's chance to win, it robbed him of something much deeper, the sense of control over his own performance. The Ferrari SF25 wasn't just a disappointing car. It was in many ways a technical trap disguised as promise. From the outside, it could seem like a logical evolution of the SF24, with specific aerodynamic improvements and a bid to recover the ground lost to McLaren and Red Bull. But in practice, the Maranello car turned out to be a treacherous machine, difficult to interpret, unstable in behavior, and, above all, inconsistent. A car that promised a lot on paper and that, on the track, was a constant source of frustration for both drivers and engineers. Ferrari focused the development of the SF25 on seeking aerodynamic efficiency, especially on straight lines. The flat bottom was redesigned to maximize ground effect, and a more aggressive architecture was worked on the sides of the car, which sought to reduce drag without compromising downforce. In simulations and wind tunnels, the car showed encouraging figures. And during the first tests, it seemed to have a solid base, especially on high-speed circuits like Silverstone or Monza. But that solidity disappeared as soon as the car faced real racing conditions, where multiple defects arose that ended up dooming the season. One of the most serious problems was the very narrow operating window of the tires. The SF25 needed very specific conditions for the front axle to warm up correctly. And when that did not happen, the car became understeering, slow when entering corners, and demanding on the rear, causing overheating of the rear tires. This dynamic turned each weekend into a nightmare of adjustments, where even minimal changes in asphalt temperature could transform a competitive car into an unmanageable one. In addition, the rigidity of the chassis generated traction problems when exiting slow corners, especially on urban or technical circuits such as Monaco, Baku, or Marina Bay. The SF25 lacked the flexibility to adapt to such environments, and that limitation was particularly visible when compared to the much more predictable behavior of McLaren's MCL39 or even Mercedes W15. While other cars were adaptable, the Ferrari was too rigid for setup changes between sessions. For Lewis Hamilton, this situation was a sporting sentence. His driving style, based on aggressive corner entry and late braking with early car rotation, never fit with the philosophy of the SF25. He tried to adapt, copying even Leclerc's softer style, releasing the accelerator earlier and letting the car flow more through the corner. But none of that was enough. The car was not responding. The feedback I received did not translate into effective changes. And worse still, any improvement obtained in qualifying quickly disappeared in the long run due to the thermal instability of the tires. In a sport where the margin between success and failure is measured in thousandths, this mentality is lethal. Because while other teams like McLaren or Red Bull foster work environments where drivers are active pieces in the development of the car, where feedback is translated into action, Ferrari remains trapped in its own legacy. A heavy legacy revered to the point of paralysis that leaves no room for modern adaptation. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.